Can you hear the ducks? So today I want to talk to you about what I wish I had known before we got our KHAKI Campbell ducks. You're going to learn as you go, and I highly recommend just diving in, making sure you've done some research, and then dive right into it. But these are the things that I wish I had known before I got started with our KHAKI Campbell ducks. We got our ducks on May 4th, which I'll always remember because that's Star Wars Day. We picked them up at the feed store, and I'd actually ordered them in advance. I wanted to make sure that I got all females. I didn't want any drakes. And I don't really know why I was thinking that. I just had done a little bit of research and had seen that too many drakes per females can be really hard on the hens. And I really didn't need fertilized eggs. I just wanted egg-laying ducks. I chose KHAKI Campbell specifically because they're prolific egg layers. In fact, they'll lay anywhere from like 330 to 360-ish eggs per year. When it came time to bring them home, I was just using all of my internet research to brood them. And in my research, I'd read so many things about starting out your baby ducks in the bathroom of your home and starting them out in little Rubbermaid totes and just a variety of advice that I had gotten that when it came time to put it all together, I was a little overwhelmed. So we started with the ducks in a Rubbermaid tote in the bathroom, and we very quickly realized that was not going to work. Not only because ducks are really stinky and messy, and you have to change their bedding frequently, but it just was not enough space for them in the one Rubbermaid tote. So we quickly divided them between two Rubbermaid totes. Then we moved them to a big Rubbermaid tote. And then we finally discovered that they would be perfectly happy in a like kiddie pool with just litter in it for them. So once we figured that out, things were a lot better, and we really felt like the ducks would be happy in that nice big pool for a long time, for pretty much as long as they needed to be in the brooder. We had that in our garage, and we did use a heat lamp. Going forward, I probably would not use a heat lamp just because of the risks involved with heat lamps. I'd probably recommend like a heat plate instead. But one of the things that we learned quickly was that KHAKI Campbells are excellent foragers, and you want to give them outdoor time right away. So everything I was reading online was contradicting itself. It was saying, don't let your baby ducks outside. Do let your baby ducks outside. And for me, I just thought, you know what would be happening in nature? I want to protect them, of course, but I also want to give them an experience with nature from as early as possible. So I think they were only a couple of days old when we took them out in the yard and just let them experience the grass and forage a little bit. And they were excellent foragers from the start. KHAKI Campbells love eating insects. They love eating dandelions. So they're really awesome to have around.
Do I agree? Do I agree?
One of the biggest things you're going to be dealing with when it comes to ducks is water. So when I first thought about having ducks, I figured I would never get to have that opportunity because I thought we'd have to have a pond, we'd have to have like a serious water source for them. But in my research, I did discover that they'd be happy with a kiddie pool full of water. They'd even be happy with just buckets that are deep enough for them to dunk their head into once they're old enough to do that. When they're babies, they still need to be able to dunk their entire bill and head into the water. That's how they clean out their nostrils. It's how they clean out their eyes. And if they're not able to do that, you'll actually end up with a diseased duck. Now, having a pool in the pen is awesome because they can climb in during the summer months when they're hot. They're going to use it to cool off, but it does get dirty really quickly. So you need to be prepared to just deal with the mess that comes with having waterfowl. Now, winter was really hard for us. We do not have a water source out by the pen. We had to gather water in the house and haul it in 5-gallon buckets multiple times a day. We also had purchased heated water dishes that sounded like such a great idea at the time. And it was something else that I had read online that just sounded like such a good idea. but we live in a very windy area and they freeze up when it's windy. So it may not even be that the temperatures were so low that they wouldn't work, because they do work to, I think, like 14 below zero or something like that. But the wind combined with the cold, they don't work in that condition. So we're thinking that next year we'll probably do like a sheep trough or something like that with a submersible heater, and we'll keep you posted on that as we prepare for winter, probably later this summer. We really like giving them time at the creek, but it does come with its risks, because they don't always listen to you when it's time to go home, and they don't always respect the boundaries that you maybe feel they should have. They might, explore beyond what you're comfortable with, and it does expose them to predators, which is just one of the risks of having waterfowl and allowing them to explore in their natural habitat. So let's talk about feeding. When we started feeding our ducks outside, we would just leave duck food in a little dish outside, and it was just an open to the elements dish, and I highly discourage that. That was something we quit pretty quickly. It attracts mice, other birds, it will rot, it will mold. We quickly switched to a Rent-A-Coop feeder, and we have loved that. It's been great for our ducks. We did kind of learn the hard way that even if your food is calcium enriched or has oyster shells in it, you do want to offer free choice calcium, simply because sometimes they're not getting enough. We were getting some really brittle shells or eggs that weren't even being laid with a shell, and that's actually pretty dangerous. Now, your housing for the duck needs to be predator proof. My husband dug a trench and put the chicken wire down into the trench and laid cinder blocks on top of that and kind of buried them around the entire perimeter of the pen. And that will prevent anything from, hopefully, it will prevent anything from digging under to get into the pen. When it comes to behavior, I expected the ducks to be very cuddly and to bond with me like I was their mama and to want to follow me around the yard. But that's just not really in their nature. But one benefit of the fact that they're a little bit skittish and that they like to stick together is that you can actually herd them into where you want them to go. Their skittish nature is also predator proofing, since they don't really fly. Another benefit to having them on the homestead, they're not going to leave you. So that's it, what I learned in the last year of owning ducks video. I hope you'll stick around, like, comment, and subscribe. I've got some garden updates coming and super excited to show you those and other things that we're up to on our hobby farm.